3 years of struggle. The result, America surrendered. Well capitulated, chickened out. Why? Because she fought for 3 years. That is a direct result.
Russia has suffered nearly 800,000 casualties in Ukraine. That is stated in the unclassified estimate from the U.S. European Command. General Cavoli shared this in his written testimony to the Senate Armed Services Committee. Russian reconstitution. Despite extensive battlefield losses in Ukraine, the Russian military is reconstituting and growing at a faster rate than most analysts had anticipated. In fact, the Russian army, which has borne the brunt of combat, is today larger than it was at the beginning of the war, despite suffering an estimated 790,000 casualties. In December 2024, Moscow ordered the military to increase its strength to 1.5 million active service members and is recruiting approximately 30,000 troops per month. Russian forces on the front lines of Ukraine are now at over 600,000, the highest level over the course of the war, and almost double the size of the initial invasion force. Russia is not just reconstituting service members, but is also replacing combat vehicles and munitions at an unprecedented pace. Russian ground forces in Ukraine have lost an estimated 3,000 tanks, 9,000 armored vehicles, 13,000 artillery systems, and over 400 air defense systems in the past year, but is on pace to replace them all. Russia has expanded its industrial production, opened new manufacturing facilities, and converted commercial production lines for military purposes. As a result, the Russian defense industrial base is expected to roll out 1,500 tanks, 3,000 armored vehicles, and 200 Lyskander ballistic and cruise missiles this year. Comparatively, the United States only produces about 135 tanks per year and no longer produces new Bradley fighting vehicles. Additionally, we anticipate Russia to produce 250,000 artillery shells per month, which puts it on track to build a stockpile 3 times greater than the United States and Europe combined. He states Russia is on pace to replace all losses. But this is missing important context. They aren't producing new vehicles in any large quantity, but rather refurbishing vehicles from storage. Once those stocks are exhausted, production will plummet. Russia's ability to replace all their air defense losses, especially advanced radars, is highly questionable as well. Russia's difficulty in scaling production of air defense systems such as S-400 is well documented. Russia's ability to produce 250,000 artillery rounds per month is impressive on paper, but we must remember that this is inclusive of 152mm and 122mm calibers and possibly mortar bombs as well. Western production of 155mm and 105mm ammunition will likely match it by year-end. Russia also maintains robust chemical and biological weapons programs. This is stronger language than what was written in the Department of Defense's 2023 Strategy for Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction. Cavoli reaffirms the extent of known Russian-North Korean cooperation. Millions of artillery shells, various missiles and weapons systems, with 13,000 containers delivered in the last year. Russia is almost certainly transferring missile technology to Pyongyang as payment. Cavoli discloses that Russia has received over 400 short-range ballistic missiles from Iran. The last publicly reported estimate from the Ukrainians was 200 FATH-360s. The Security Assistance Group has delivered $66 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. For context, $30 billion in PDA from the U.S. has been committed to date, though not quite all delivered. USA deliveries are probably somewhere $5 to $10 billion. So Security Assistance Group deliveries are about 50% U.S. origin. In case you missed it, it turns out that the U.S. has already chickened out and capitulated to Russia, all thanks to Sarmat mobiles and marches on Washington. This revelation came from State Duma Deputy and National Liberation Movement Coordinator Yevgeny Fyodorov.
For Belgorod and Donbass, for Crimea and Sevastopol, for Kursk and Kherson, we target the USA for Russia's victory. We demand to enter flight missions into our strategic nuclear missiles and aim them at United States cities. United States of America, Yars, Sarmat, and Poseidon, we take aim at your homes, into your homes.
Those who fight in pickets, distributing these newspapers, Sarmatmobile. Here's an example. Sarmatmobile, the March on Washington. 3 years of struggle. The result, America surrendered. Well, capitulated, chickened out. Why? Because she fought for 3 years. That is a direct result. Relative to the amount of expenses, effort, and capabilities, well, it's incomparable to the special military operation. Well, not even close, even by millimeters, you understand, right?
Ukraine, on the other hand, released lots of real battlefield footage today of destroyed Russian air defense systems. Ukrainian Special Forces operators carried out 3 successful strikes on Russian Buk air defense systems in Kursk within 12 hours. Using FPV drones, they destroyed a Buk M2 launcher hidden in a forest and damaged the radars of 2 Buk M3 systems. The destruction of these systems is of critical importance for Ukraine because they constitute the core of the Russian air defense system. Another important and at the same time ironic point is that Ukraine is destroying air defense systems with drones, the very threat these systems are designed to protect against. Every time the same story and tune. The US is talking to Russia. We want them to stop. Trump on the war in Ukraine. I don't like the shelling. The bombings don't stop. Thousands of young people die every week. This horror wouldn't have started if I were president, 100%.
And who will participate, and where are we in terms of making progress in terms of peace?
We're talking to Russia. We'd like them to stop. I don't like the bombing. The bombing goes on, and every week people and thousands of young people are being killed. And it's a horrible thing that should have never started, would have never started if I were president, 100%.
Cruel liar. Russia only strikes military targets. No attacks on civilian sites are carried out, says Putin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. Meanwhile, in Kryvyi Rih, a Russian missile strike killed 20 people, including 9 children.
Ukraine confirmed that 9 children were killed in the strike on the 4th of April in Kryvyi Rih. And the Ministry of Defense stated that they targeted a location where a meeting was being held with unit commanders and Western instructors. And but children did die. Maybe it was a mistake on the Russian side. Maybe the intelligence data was inaccurate. What do you have here? I suggest relying entirely on the statement from our Ministry of Defense. Our military targets exclusively military and paramilitary objectives. No strikes are carried out on social facilities or social infrastructure sites.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.